So my name is Eliza. I'm a Wiradjuri and a Dharawal person. I grew up on the Central Coast, which is Darkinjung land. I am a recent graduate of Macquarie, so I studied a Bachelor of Human Sciences and I majored in Community Services. And I've begun a role as a graduate in Woollongomaroo. I work as an academic engagement coordinator and I focus on the first year students at Macquarie. So the main experience that comes to mind, I suppose, is something that happened to me in my first year. I was in an introductory sociology class and, we started talking about unemployment and, the teacher posed a question to the whole class. What are some of the reasons or the barriers that might be preventing an Aboriginal person that lived in rural New South Wales from getting a job or being employed? And I thought, awesome, we're discussing this. There's tons of things there, location, services, everything. And the first answer was this confident guy that put up his hand and said, oh, well, there's the obvious reason, and that is that Aboriginal people are less intelligent. And I just couldn't believe that somebody would say that, for starters. But what was even more shocking is that there were people around the room going, oh, yeah, that's right. And the discussion went on for, I don't know, it was probably only 5 to 10 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. And, nobody stepped in, nobody, refuted that point, and they just kept talking about how, Aboriginal people had less intelligence, they were dumber, so therefore, how could they be employed, or they'll be employed in lesser jobs. And I was just suddenly, in my head thinking, they're talking about my mum and they're talking about my grandfather and, so many of my friends and my community and me and, it's just ridiculous to say that we are, less intelligent people. And so, it immediately made me question why I was at university. And as a first year, it was really disheartening because, I just thought the university would be a place that I wouldn't come across that because, it's everybody there is pursuing higher education, and I just thought they'd be, more informed. And even so, I thought that, the university classroom would be a place where even if these stereotypes came up, that they would be, discussed and refuted. But none of that happened in that class. And so I left in, a haze, and I went straight to Woollongomaroo. I tried to start explaining it to her, and then before I knew, I was bawling. And it was just a moment that, I'll never forget. But, those people in that classroom and, that teacher, that was just a regular conversation for them. But, that was then in my head for the rest of my university journey. And unfortunately, those experiences are not uncommon amongst the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. Being a student, and I was, very involved in our community as a student, and I still am as a staff member. I hear all the time about these kind of instances where, it's both, blatant racism and it's also, really subtle racism. But at the same time, there is also a really positive experience that has stuck with me as well. This was in my final year last year, and I was in an early childhood class, and we were speaking about, the barriers and the strengths that Aboriginal families have, as a unique family type, I suppose, in Australia. And the teacher, at the beginning of the lesson, she said, really openly, I just want to invite any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people in this class, to share their experiences and their knowledge and, you know, their thoughts and feelings about this and about their families and their communities. And, you know, no pressure, but if you'd like to speak up about it and you are Aboriginal and you're here, you know, please do so. This is an environment where I'd really like to hear from you if you're comfortable. Yeah, she was talking about barriers but also strengths, and that was really important to me because it's a two-way street, you know, and we definitely do have, you know, huge strengths, knowledges, experiences that are so positive that should be shared as well. And for the rest of that class, like that subject, I was so engaged, and, you know, she didn't ever pressure me to say anything or to chime in with my opinion, but, you know, she was just mindful that I might want to say something about certain things, and yeah, it was just really respectful, and it made my year, really, and I'll never forget that one. So, you know, it's as simple as that, an invitation, and it can make a whole world of difference. And then suddenly she had a lesson that was, you know, very informative, you know, as it would have been anyway, but it was also had those unique, you know, those genuine, authentic experiences, and it made me really passionate to make sure that doesn't happen to other people. And, you know, we're not quite there yet. It's still happening all the time, still hearing about it. But, you know, it's made me have this vision that at one point Macquarie is going to get to a stage where Aboriginal students are not going to feel like that in the classroom, or they're going to have those respectful invitations to participate. And then, you know, there will be one less barrier for them coming to university. We can remove that barrier and, you know, make it all the more possible for them to come and, you know, succeed. There are people that are already doing this, and there's a lot of academics that I know that want to be doing it, just don't know how. When you're sitting in a classroom as an Aboriginal person, you hear somebody in the class or the teacher, you know, even say, you know, Aboriginal or Indigenous. For me, my immediate reaction is to hold my breath. Aboriginal students shouldn't have to feel that in class. You know, that immediately makes you disengaged because you're sitting there, you know, trying to focus on how to breathe and think, you know, you're completely inside your own head. So, and that's not even something that crosses the mind of other students. So if we can create an environment where a student hears Aboriginal or Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander and they go, oh, okay, cool. We're talking about, you know, my community, my family, Aboriginal Australia, cool. You know, and they think, oh, this is cool. This is an opportunity for me to talk about my experiences, or, you know, for me to maybe learn something about another community, or, you know, just to have a good discussion with my peers. You know, if we can create that environment, then, you know, that's going to be a time when our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students really flourish. So that's why it's important.